when they trust you. So trust is very important. The next acronym, which is H, stands for honesty. A leader, ethical leader, must be honest so that people can believe in what he or she is saying. If you are not honest, usually, even when you are speaking the truth, it is doubted. So you must be seen as someone who is honest. Then equality or equity. An ethical leader must try and establish a fair playing ground or a level playing ground for all the people. Even though equality cannot be said that we will all be equal, there must be equity in ensuring that nobody is maltreated. An ethical leader must respect the members of the team. Not only the members, but must respect contrary opinion and tolerate it. And most of the times, to be very honest with you, as a leader myself, the views that people expunge on issues at times become superior to your own initial position. So if you listen and give them this respect, they can help you or assist you with such rich ideas. And I think these are the things which are missing, and we need to bring them back into leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those initial thoughts that you have shared with us, Mr. Domelevo. Do we have Honorable Odum? Do we have Mr. Odum, Honorable Odum yet?
Hi, Ben. You left a message just recently, just a few seconds ago, that he's actually in Liberia, Monrovia, and he's having a slack connection problem. He's there to pick up an award for President Kufuor, former Ghana. So he's in Monrovia. The network is a bit unstable. That's why he's having some challenges.
Right. I get it. It can be patchy there. And I just saw the message. I didn't even realize he was the one sending it. So let's move on with the conversation. As and when we can have Honorable Odum join the conversation, we shall rope him in and take it from there. So coming back to you, Prof. You're far away in the United States, but in terms of ethics, mores, the standards that we adhere to in Ghana, what you know, and whether it's on a political level, religious level, or socioeconomic level, what is it that you see from all the time that you've spent in Ghana compared to other jurisdictions you've been in, for example, the United States?
Thank you so much. That's a very beautiful question. I can say that I probably wouldn't want to dwell on the Ghanaian scenario yet, apart from maybe mentioning a few encounters with Ghana police, but we will talk about that shortly. With the American system, I would say that the system works. If we are able in Ghana to get to where I hear myself, if we're able to get to a standard where people would be scared that if we were to have punitive system or a measure where people are so afraid of losing their jobs for violating policies, for non-compliance of policies, we will be able to get somewhere. In the United States, every time I hear about ethical violence, it's all about, no, I'm not going to do this and lose my job. Everybody is conscious about the implications or the consequences. Because if you are an ethical leader, if you engage in ethical behaviors, you're always concerned about the consequences of your actions. What effects, what impact is that going to leave you? Now, when it comes to Ghana, I can talk about our parliamentarians, for instance. We have a system where if we were to have a very objective majority in parliament, a lot of things would go the right way for us. We have never had instances where parliamentarians have ever stood against their own party. But what happens there in the United States? We may recall Joe Manchin and how he stalled progress in the Senate, and people may not have understood why he was doing that. He had his constituents in mind. He comes from a very red state, and he belongs to a blue party, the Democrats. Now, whenever he has to vote, whenever he or other party members have to vote, they need to remember what their constituents expect them to, because they send them there. Do we have that in Ghana? If we were to have about 10 members of the majority who would always vote with the opposition, because the minority in Ghana is always more effective, people in parliament become more critical and more rational when they are in the minority. It is when they are able to understand, or when they become transparent to let us know that this is what we understand to be wrong with the system. So if we were to have a few majority parliamentarians voting with the opposition, the minority, I am sure the right things will get done. I have been in parliament maybe a long time ago where an MP, a female MP, comes, she misses some kind of voting. She arrives in the parliament and says, where were you when we were having those votes? She said, oh, one of my constituents came, she's getting married, she doesn't have, the husband doesn't have money, so I went with her to Makola to go and buy her some stuff. You know, imagine. And I didn't hear any of the MPs standing and saying that, no, that is not a sensible use of your time. If the general population, the constituents, understand the fact that when they send members of parliament to represent them, their responsibilities are not to go to churches, their responsibilities are not to go to funerals, and that they are supposed to help project and move the country forward, maybe things might change. So that's a little bit of comparison I have right there for you.
Okay, interesting one. Same to you, Daniel, Mr. Domelevo. What's your take on that?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think I'm with my sister on the positions. In fact, what disturbs me about the public service in Ghana in particular, and almost all the African countries, is that people do not aspire to be in public office because they have something or some value to add. People look for public office as an opportunity to make their personal gains, what I call the personal economic recovery program. So people go to office because it is a channel of becoming rich. And the society is losing confidence in leadership in Ghana, just as in any other African country. Because everyone knows Daniel, we know how challenging the economic situation was for Daniel. Daniel becomes a minister, auditor general, or holds any public office. Within 2 or 3 years, Daniel is filthy rich. And what disturbs me about Ghana and Africa is that the youth have started copying my generation and the generation before me, that is the older ones. And people are starting to think that those shortcuts, those abuses of office, corruption, are necessary. And once you go through them and you make the money, the end justifies the means. In fact, what disturbs me most is when I hear people talk about the old good days, and always tell the aged or those who are about my age and more that bow your head in shame. With the level of technology and knowledge we have today, we should be talking about a better day, not a better yesterday. So it means we are destroying the future of our children. We are destroying the future of generations yet unborn. But what accounts for this? From my point of view, what is happening in Ghana, which is in several other African countries, is that there are no consequences for abuse of public office. When people get into public office, and we all know them, and we can call them by the name, they are thieves, nothing happens to them. We actually even celebrate them. We invite them to chair important functions. We invite them to lead committees and etc. So I think these are some of the things which is happening in our society, as a result of which nobody is trusting leadership anymore. Finally, what has happened from my point of view in the past is that we have mistaken eloquence and good English speaking to mean a good leader. In fact, some of the leaders we have in Ghana and Africa even understand the English better than the King of England. They can even teach the King of England English. So they speak so eloquently that people think that this is the leader. And when they come to office, you can see the abysmal performance, and they have the infantry of just saying that, well, my predecessor or others are misbehaving the same. Negative benchmarking. The leadership we have today does not take responsibility, like I talked about, accountability, being responsible for your failures and say, I'm going to address it. Instead of that, they compare themselves to other failures. Have you looked at Cote d'Ivoire? Have you looked at Burkina Faso? Have you looked at Zimbabwe? What is happening in maybe Gambia? Instead of saying that, no, this is wrong, I am going to correct it. So this is the challenge that I think we may all have to address today. Thank you.
Great. And I'm hoping that at some point, apart from your example, your shining example that we have, we can get Honorable Odum on board, because he also has some stellar examples to share on the positives of ethical leadership. In case you just joined the conversation, we're talking about ethical leadership. It is the first in a series that we're having at Unite and Transform Ghana. And we want all of you from wherever you're joining. I'm seeing a lot of you joining from different parts of the world. Some are leaving bit by bit, but a number of you keep joining. So let's keep joining. Let's spread the word. We're live on YouTube and Instagram as well. So let's take note of that. We're live on Facebook and Instagram. I beg your pardon. Facebook and Instagram. There's also YouTube as well. So you can connect with us. Just look for Unite and Transform Ghana. You'll get the feed, and then we can proceed from there. So, Prof, you heard what